yesterday, of course, was devastating. Al came up one shot short, airmailed the green on the final hole. I was texted with a couple of friends yesterday because he gets back into town tonight, about what kind of gift could we get Alistair. I said, I'm going to get him a picture frame, two pictures of him holding the pose on 18. And then the picture underneath it is going to be screenshot of him hitting underneath the cable tower that's holding up the TV tower behind. And because man, it got me. It was so unbelievably intense to watch it. And he battled his absolute ass off. Obviously not a great start. It was really becoming pretty clear on the back nine what the number was going to be. Then he makes that birdie on 17. He's doing all the parts of golf that are the hardest. He's hitting it a million yards down the middle of the fairway on pretty much every hole. Just couldn't quite make birdies, and then comes up one shot short. And again, I kind of relive the whole thing in the knee-jerk way later, but it was very cool to see all the support, to be honest with you. Like to see all of the tweets, all the text messages that we're getting as people that are like tangentially involved with Alistair. And I know he appreciates the hell out of all the support that he got. But seeing how many people were rallying, how many people were saying like, man, it's Sunday football, a big weekend in football, fantasy playoffs and everything. And they're like, I'm watching, golfers that I've never even heard of, and I'm living and dying on every shot. So I did think that part of it was absolutely awesome. And then the other big thing that, we were kind of talking about, I watched with our good friend Andy, who is Alistair's swing coach. And he recently had a baby girl a couple months ago. So his wife gave him the green light to kind of go out, have some drinks, witness Alistair trying to get his tour card. And so we were there kind of living and dying on every shot. But a big part of it afterwards is like, bro, this is the best year of golf you've ever had. You had an insanely impressive year of golf. Everyone knows, including yourself, that you are right there. You deserve it. The harder the golf, the better that you play. This golf course was playing impossibly. You were tied for first going into it. You still finished top 10 easily, finished second place or seventh place solo. And he made life kind of changing for the next several years amount of money this year. And it's not a funeral. It's like a very much like, oh, this is part of the progression. We're crushing it. We're right there. Keep going. Having said all that, it's like, if he's just one shot better, he's just playing in the Farmers Insurance and the Sony and the Waste Management Phoenix Open and the Arnold Palmer Invitational instead of going down to like Panama and like looking at the canal and trying to grind through the Corn Fair Tour. And so yeah, again, we're going to talk about that, but it was gut wrenching,
devastating. Every adjective you want to use, it's that. And I love Alistair. He's been great to us. And, obviously you and him and Riggs have a great connection. And yeah, it was must-see TV yesterday. And we talk a lot on this show, and we have talked a lot about how do we get through to people the dramatics of how life-changing the Corn Ferry Tour is and like how crazy these lives are. And unfortunately, we have put ourselves in a position where we shed the light on it, and a lot of credit to Riggs because of how long he's known Alistair, but we really are able to do that in the most devastating way possible. Like we talk about like, man, we want people to know how these things can be life or death. Yeah, it's great watching the PGA Tour, but you're watching, for the most part, especially on Sundays, millionaires competing for millions of dollars and like their lives are okay. We have always been like, how do we show that there's guys grinding their dicks off to try to make it, and it's possible that they'll miss it by one shot? And boy, did we were just showing people that exact scenario. And unfortunately, the guy that it happened to twice is our guy, Alistair. And it's really, I love the kid and I just feel so bad for him. But he has, in a weird way, not only had a great year, but also shown a lot of people what this tour is about and how hard it is to get your tour card.
Absolutely. He really has. And I'm totally with you, Trent. Like, of course, it's the guy that we put in Barstool golf gear. That is the guy that comes up one shot short. It's a big part of me for the last, 12 hours. I've been like, it's our fault. It's honestly our fault. If Alistair was wearing another name on his hat, he just wouldn't be the guy that is finishing. Of course, it's our guy. Of course, we put Barstool golf foreplay stuff on one human being in professional golf, and he just does what we kind of do. It's like, of course, on the golf course, very entertaining, awesome guy, but like just coming up short. And so part of that, I'm like, but then I'm also like, he also just didn't come up. It's like when he got one shot at a PGA Tour event this year, sponsors exemption, bunch of people went to bat to get that done. There's always controversy about sponsors exemptions. You know, when Steph Curry and these celebrities get put in, right? There's all kinds of bickering about if this guy does it, you're stealing a spot from this. Well, what's he do? He goes out, final round, I think he shot 64, 65 to catapult himself into solo second and make $356,000. He, in the final round of the Q School Championship, shot, I think, another 64 at an incredibly difficult golf course to catapult himself up into tied for second. And he just happened to be tied with enough people where he missed it by a point. But it's like he has proven himself in huge situations. And I will say that was, you know, the Scotty Scheffler has the quote. He's been asked twice. I looked it all up. He's been asked twice in the last 2 years about, you know, the most pressure he's ever felt on the golf course. And both times he has referenced the exact situation that Alistair was in yesterday. He has said the final hole in the final stage of Q School, I had to get it up and down, and it was the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life. And so you just, you know, you practice, you prepare. That's all he's been doing. And it wasn't like he puked on himself. I don't know what happened on the first hole. I imagine he had some funky lie or whatever occurred makes that double. But then from there on in, he had a couple more bogeys in the front, sure. But from the entire TV coverage that I saw, you know, there's guys out there, and credit to this Matthew Riedel character, because it was very funny rooting so hard against them and then realizing on the last hole that it wasn't going to matter. And then I was like, well, now we got to root for this young man. Like, it was very funny. It was because we're like, that ball's in the water on 17. Let's go. We're back. And then it wasn't in the water. And we're like, what a lucky piece of, you know, and then we get to 18 and we're doing the math and we're like, actually, we need more than that guy to back up. So then we're like, oh, we got to be rooting for this guy now. And then he gets that up and down and we're like, yeah, good.
Dude, I was traveling all day yesterday and I was watching on my phone, which shout out to Golf Channel. Like, I was just watching it and they were showing a lot of the stuff. I was in the airport when Riedel, he took iron off the tee on that par 5. And I was like, what a loser this guy is.
We were doing the same thing. We were like, coward, screaming at the TV.
But you're right. It does put you in that position. Then once you get to the end, you're like, no, I want that guy to succeed too. I just want Alistair to succeed. And like, it really is a sports watching experience that you really don't get anywhere else.